Hello, this is Max Drake. I want to do a little bit of a follow-up of the inventory reporting script that I actually had in the previous video. And that was, I had the inventory, which I got with the barcode scanner and the QR codes, and I'm just keeping my inventory up to date. But I need a report, and when I actually did the report, a couple of things jumped out straight away. So we just go into the report at the very beginning. This is what we actually had. So when I actually started to look at this, what I actually found was, how do I know how current this is? So the only way I could actually do that is to go and actually look at the date of when that was done. Because one of the issues was inside Task Scheduler, if you haven't got your computer on, then it's not going to run at a specific time. So I had it running at 6 o'clock in the morning. I didn't actually have this PC running, and I don't leave it running overnight. So therefore it wasn't triggering. So therefore I need to do something else, either trigger. There is a way that you can actually, instead of triggering based on a time, you can trigger based on something like a log on. So maybe that's a better way of actually doing it. Trigger after I've actually logged on, so it'll actually go and do that. So you always know that that script's then going to run there. But the other thing that bothered me is that to a certain extent I got this script and I didn't know what the latest was. So one of the first things that I thought I needed to do with it was to actually put a date in at the very top, so I know when that script was actually generated. Because again, when we run the script, it deletes that file and then rewrites it and makes it new again. Now, the other thing in here is that it's all a little bit shambolic as the way that it is. Now, two other things that I started to look at here was, one, can we start looking at ordering the information so that it's easier to read? So the first thing that I'm actually working on at the moment, it's not quite working out, is that what I've actually done, if it goes through a specific part of a loop, I've got to get more now. It puts a 1 in there. If it's 2, so it's actually getting low, so we're okay. And if it's 3, our quantity is okay. So now I've got that, I'm actually trying to write part of the script to get it to sort based on the first digit here into an order so that I can actually redo the file. The other thing that I can do is write 3 files. So depending on which part of the loop that it goes through, it appends to 3 different files, either OK, get, or a warning type thing, and then you could do that. So that was the first part of the thing that I was doing. And the second part was, to a certain extent, you've got to go and dig it up on a file somewhere. So the second file that I actually thought about was actually sending an email. So I'm just going to run that script while and let it think about it at this point in time. And I actually found, now I've tried running, there's a few ones out there on AutoHotKey about running scripts, and I've never been, running a script to send an email, but I never got any of them work until I came across this tabnation. And you've got to go into your Google account, and in your security, you've got to go and adjust it. And he explains it in this video very well. So that was the thing, and after I got that doing, it works fantastically. Another thing which he talks about in here is he sends an email to an SMS, so he can send an email to a text. Now, in America, you can do that for free. You actually just find your text provider, phone provider, whoever's actually cell towers and stuff they're using, and it'll send that information through. In New Zealand, you can't do that. Well, you can do it, but you've got to pay for it. So when I tried testing it with a couple of the people who were doing it here, which was Spark and Vodafone, it didn't work at all. So, it didn't work, and they just kind of said, well, you have got an account with us for that. So I'd need to actually set up an account to actually be able to do that. So that's just another little tag through there. The other thing was the code that he actually had and generated through there. I ended up with a bit of an issue in here. Now, a couple of things with this. Your email password is exposed here. Now, if you're really uncomfortable about this, the best thing to do is actually create a new Gmail account or something like that and just send these emails from there. So that's all they're being sent for. So it's just getting those files, appending them, and sending them through. And here's one he doesn't show how to append. At the bottom here, you see this S attach, and then it's got this loop field. So what it's doing is, if you've got multiple files that you want to attach, you use that delimiter, which is the big stick one, like a big L or I, and you put it in between your files, and then it just appends all of those attachments to there. So if you're doing a report and you actually wanted 3 files of, you've got to order these straight away, you've got to, this is just a warning and this is a thing, that's one way of actually doing that. So that's the thing. Now this one here, if I run this script now, and we'll see if it's going to run, I think it's F5 on here, I get an error, and what it is on this line here where the schema is HTTP here, where it says you're sending it to a URL. For some unknown reason, it adds 3 rather weird, I don't know if it's going to do it, odd little characters at the end of it. So it stops that from ever working for me. So I actually found that as a bit of a frustration. Now I actually found a workaround this, and what I ended up actually having to do, sorry, the wrong one there, is in the original one it says schema and then it's got colon and then equals. You've got to change it to schema is equal to, not colon equal to, and then up the top you've actually got I found if I just tried using one variable and putting the whole string on there, or sorry, the whole URL, it would still come up when add these odd little characters at the end. But if I broke it into 2 separate variables and then just concatenated the variables down there, it works fine. So that was just an issue, and when I looked on his video on YouTube, there wasn't any comment about that at all. Nobody else seemed to have that issue, and so that was just something that I just want to tag through there. I did write an article on this and just show the email that actually sent and the other thing that I do over and above what he's got in his example through there is because I'm sending an inventory, so every time I run this one here in the email, I'm also putting in the subject header the current date and time, just so that I know when that's been Now, from a point of view of if you're sending an email, either if you've got a task which is doing making the report, either you append this email send at the bottom of it, of that script, so that the one trigger does the whole thing. It updates the report, and then it then attaches that report through to where you're going. So those are the things. At the moment, I'm working on trying to get the sort command to work at the bottom. So I've actually created the file, and inside the file, what I've actually done at this point in time is that on the code, depending on what it is coming through, I've just added a number. If it's okay, I've given it a number 3. If it needs to be a warning, I've given it 2, and then if it needs to be done, I've got 1. So that when I can order these in a single file, and I'm trying to use the sort through here to do this, and I'm using the syntax where it's trying to use a DX, which is a delimiter character, and if you don't actually give anything, what's the delimiter character? So what's it? It's a break line. So I'm using X, so it's saying it's a break line. I'm trying to say I want you to sort by numbers, and so it's a numeric sort. And then also I want to sort based on the character position. So I'm actually, if you don't put a character position, then N defaults to 1, which is what I've got. I've got the first character through there, but I just can't seem to get this to go through and do that sort through there. So at this point in time, I'm a little bit frustrated by that, but that's the notion behind the extra little bit of coding that I'm doing. So with all of those things, I can now add the automation of actually being able to email myself or email somebody the actual inventory, which is really handy. And then so that, if I've got somebody in the office or somewhere that I need to do something with that inventory or get something ordered, I can actually just flick that email on, and I can actually, the other thing that you can also do as well is if you're looping through into different files, and then maybe you append the files through onto a different thing, you could maybe have headers on each side, and you can actually have a countdown, so you just increment as you go along. And so you actually have, instead of just one file, you actually have the 3 files, and you say, well, in the critical ones, order everything in there. In the second one's for the warnings, order items 1, 3, and 5 or whatever, such that you get line items like these all the way through from your inventory point of view. So you say, I'll order from line 1, 7, and 9 or 14 or something like that. So that's something you do to make it a little bit more simpler from the point of view of when you're discussing things over the phone with somebody else or a quick email. You can actually just give a line number rather than something else. So I hope that's been of interest to you. It's just been, this is something I think is quite important. If you've got an inventory, how you're reporting on that inventory and what are you actually doing about it at this point in time. The only other issue I actually have at this point is I'm actually running this on a tablet in the kitchen. So I'd most probably run this report now. I don't want it to run on startup, because it's when I start the tablet up, that's when I'm actually going to go and do the inventory scan. So I need to run after that to create an updated report. Then the best thing, because I'm just shutting that tablet down straight away, I really need it to send it to an FTP, so send it onto something like a server so that the report can be done and run at the same period, same time every day. So I'm not concerned with whether a local PC is on or off. It's actually done on a server which is running 24 hours a day. So that would actually just do your reporting with your task scheduler to do it like that. The other one is that you could actually say, after I've actually been on the PC, there might be a button to press and say now's the actual time. So a lot of those scripts maybe not actually run it based on a time base. It may not work there. But I think realistically, if you're actually doing a business or something like that, you want that report generated at a certain time. So I'm happy with where I am on this. I can now email the report across to myself, and on the report it actually says what date timestamp I've got on that. Now, if I actually end up with the email part of the code appended to the actual creating the reporting part of the code, then I know that timestamp is going to be the time when that report was actually generated. So even if it's in the file as well, and it's actually a good little backup to actually have the date inside the file, just so that you know that that's when that particular file was generated, because of the previous one was deleted, so you know which one is there. So I hope that's been of interest to you. As I said, the next thing is to maybe start looking at sending stuff through an FTP and then being able to just have a task scheduler doing something, which to me in some ways would be the better way of doing it for my own personal use, because my PC is not running all the time. So really what I want to do is I want to update my inventory, and then I want to say, take those files, send them up, send a copy up over onto my server. It'll be sitting on my server at a specific point, and then my server will just run and do the actions on that file and actually send me an email at a specific point in time. So as I said, that most probably will be my next exercise through there, because then I've got something totally automated from the way that I want to do it. And in fact, I can most probably, the script to actually send that FTP could actually just be a barcode scan. After I actually scanned all the inventory and I know that my inventory is where it needs to be at this point in time, I can actually just run another script which will just trigger that thing off, and off it goes and does that. So that's a nice way of doing that in a way. So I think these little appendy things, although they're sort of a little bit here and a little bit there, they do make it a lot more cohesive, and that's one of the things of actually doing a practical exercise of a freezer inventory, is that I can suddenly see faults which I find a little bit frustrating, and the one that's really bugging me at this point in time is the lack of clarity of not having this in an order. I want the priority stuff at the top, I want things which I can consider in the middle, and I want things that I don't even need to take any notice of at the bottom. So the 3's at the bottom, the 2's in the middle, and the 1's at the top. Then I can actually just kind of say, right, I know exactly I've got to go and respond to these number of items that I've got on here and get those done. And when they get over a critical mass or something, I suddenly think, it's definitely a day when I've actually got to do a whole load of ordering. So thank you very much for watching that. I hope you found that of use. I'll put the code up there. Most probably I've got to get on and do another project. So I'll put this other one, although I'm creating a third file. So I'm taking the file which does the report, and then I'm trying to sort it into another file, just so that I'm not overwriting other information. I could overwrite the information in a way, but I'm not confident, so I'm actually creating another file to do that, and this one here isn't quite working. And this was based on the sort syntax through here, and also the demo code they actually have through here somewhere. I think the first one is reading the contents of an address list and trying to reorder those. And as I said, my one at this point in time is not working, but because it's I don't know. So I hope that's been of interest to you. If you found it useful, please give a thumbs up. Otherwise, I'll pan your heart. Thank you very much.